Hi everyone, this is eldadamara with my channel Eyes Wide Shut. Now listen, I don't know why, but there don't seem to be many people watching my videos at the moment, considering how many subscribers I've got. I've got over 8,000 subscribers, and out of that, very, very few people are watching my videos. Now I don't know if it's got something to do with YouTube not notifying people, right? People not turning on their notification bells, but if you're really interested in my content, you're that interested, you need to go and search me out sometimes, okay? Don't just depend on notifications, because there's a lot of things that's going on with these channels right now at the moment. And guess what? Things are going to get even worse coming up to the 1st of September, okay? Because there's going to be a lot of surveillance in order for people to be able to even get onto their channels, yeah? So this coming September, there's going to be a lot of issues when it comes to trying to get onto to your own platforms to do your videos, because they're talking about facial recognition, fingerprinting, and all kinds of other things, yeah? Now this is supposed to be for our so-called good. Anyway, as I said, I've got quite a few videos that I've been dropping lately, and I've gone from 2 to 4 videos a week, and I will stretch to 6 videos per week in the coming months. But listen, please go check out my channel. I've been dropping some good content, right? And I've done a couple of videos, yeah, interviews with other people as well. So go check out those videos also, right? A lot of people out there's got this co-pilot. Sorry, a lot of people out there's got this Alexa and Seri, right? And these devices, do you know that they record your conversation? Yeah, they record your conversation. I'm going to highlight some of the good and bad points about having Seri, yeah, and having Alexa. I wanted to know, by asking Copilot, how does these devices actually work? Because you ask it a question and bang, within a couple of seconds, it's answering you. How does it manage to act that quickly? How does these devices manage to act that quickly? Technology, man, out there now, is so sophisticated. It's so quick, and it's getting even quicker, and it's getting even more sophisticated. And guess what? A lot of people are also losing their jobs because of these devices. Right, so I asked Copilot the following question. Copilot, I'm interested in how Alexa and Siri can answer people's questions, especially in seconds. How can these devices operate and answer people's questions so quickly? Right, great question. This is what Siri said. Sorry, this is what Copilot said. Great question. Voice assistant Alexa and Siri seem almost magical in how quickly they respond, but behind the scenes, it's a fascinating blend of cutting-edge technology. Let's break it down. How voice assistants understand and answer questions. 1. Voice recognition, which is speech to text. When you speak, your voice is captured by the device's microphone. The audio is instantly converted into using speech recognition algorithms. These algorithms are trained on millions of voice samples to understand accents, tones, and even background noise. Right, so even background noise. So that means that there's nothing private really. So you could be sat in your living room with someone or with a group of people, and this Alexa and Siri are listening to your conversation. So even if it's not recording, it's still listening to your conversation. And you could be discussing some really, really private things. And you don't realize that this device is actually listening in on your conversation. And where's that information going to? Who is the person that's listening in on your conversation? And where is that information going? The people that you've invited around to your house that are sat there may have had some personal issue that they want to discuss with you. It could be something to do with divorce. It could be something to do with bills. It could be something to do with a previous partner. It could have something to do with their kids. Yeah. This device is listening in on your conversation. So the people that you've invited around your home, do they know that their conversation has also been listened to by these devices? And don't you think you should remove the device if people come around, right, and put it into another room, just to give people just a little bit of privacy? Right, just give people a little bit of privacy, because they might not be consenting to the conversations being listened to by these devices. Let me go on. Natural language processing, which is NLP for short. Once speech is turned into text, the system uses NLP to figure out what you mean. It breaks down your sentence to identify. It breaks down your sentence to identify intent. What's the weather? Entities. Right. So in Birmingham or Bristol, for example, what's going on tomorrow? This helps assistants to understand your questions like humans would. Right, number 3, query execution. The assistant then decides how to answer. If it's a factual question, it might search a database or web. If it's a command like playing music, it triggers the appropriate action. These systems are optimized to respond in milliseconds. Milliseconds. Speed is key to feeling instant. Number 4, text to speech, or TTS in short. Once the answer is ready, it's converted back into speech using TTS technology. This makes the response sound natural, with intonations, rhythms that mimic human speech, which mimic human speech. So listen, now, do you know that your voice could be cloned? Do you know that? Your voice can actually be cloned. Your face can be cloned, okay? Through these imagery cameras that they got now, okay? And a lot of people don't realize that. Your voice and your face can be cloned. Right, why it's so fast? Cloud computing, most of the processing happens on powerful servers, not just on your device. Pre-trained models. These assistants use AI models trained on billions of examples. Catching and prediction. They often anticipate common questions and keep answers ready to go. So they're anticipating previous questions. Yeah. Let me read on. Would you like to see how NLP handles a more complex sentence, or how it deals with ambiguity, like when you say apple and ask to guess whether you mean the fruit or the company? No. Okay, you think that I'm in Brighton, and that's not factual, because this machine thinks that I'm actually in a certain city. So I correct it and say, no, I'm not in the city that you think I'm in, okay? Which is quite intrusive. How could this thing know where I am? So I turned around and said, like, no, that's not factual information. I'm not where you think I am. I'm actually in Brighton. Yeah. So anyway, going on, using words like entities can appear as an indirect threat. Where does Siri and Alexa store information people speak to into these devices? You're absolutely right to question how these voice assistant handles what people say. Privacy and data storage are major concerns. Here's a clear breakdown of what happens when you speak to Siri or Alexa. What happens to your voice data? Listen to this. Triggering the assistant. Siri and Alexa only start recording after they hear their wait word. Hey Siri or hey Alexa. Before that, they're passively listening for wait words, not actively recording. So they're waiting for wake words. So in other words, this device or these devices are just in the background, passively listening, right? Passively listening, but it's not responding in terms of recording anything until you actually speak to it. That's my understanding, at least. Right, cloud storage. Once activated, your voice command is sent to the cloud servers owned by Apple or Amazon. There, it's processed to understand your request and generate a response. Everything's going up in them clouds now, eh? Everything seems to be going up in them clouds. So they've been stored up in the clouds on what exactly? On what? Is it on satellites? What devices are these things being stored up on in the clouds? And who has access? They're saying that it's Amazon. Yeah? What's the other company? They're saying that it's Amazon and another company here. Apple. Who else may have access to this information? Have you ever considered that? Right, so what gets stored? According to PC Mag, Alexa stores voice recordings, interaction history, device location, IP address, right? So the IP address is where the computer is located, yeah? So where the computer is located in somebody's home and city, and even contact names. Siri stores less data but still keeps transcriptions and some voice samples, often anonymized. Right, human review. Both Apple and Amazon have admitted that human reviewers sometimes listen to anonymized recordings to improve accuracy. You heard that? You heard that? So these devices sometimes are recording your conversation in order to improve, yeah, on accuracy. Man, this has raised concerns, especially when accidental recordings happen. Yeah, it's a friend of mine. She was sat speaking to another friend in her home, talking about building supplies and building equipment because she wanted to have an extension of kitchen. And guess what? The next day, no lie, some bricks and some other materials were delivered by some company. She hadn't ordered anything. It just turned up on her doorstep the next day. There's been some other people have had very similar sorts of stories where they've been speaking to, not speaking to Alexa or to Siri directly, but just having a conversation with someone, and this device is recording the conversation, and then next minute something happens, comes into fruition out of that. You got to be careful, man. Seriously careful about having these devices in your home. And I'm not saying don't have them in your home, that's a total choice of your own. That's up to you as an individual, right? Or as a household. But realize that these things could be recording your conversation and listening in on your conversation, especially in your home, which is a very private place. When you're in bed at night and you're having secret whispers between you and your partner, right? Or you're making love or whatever. How do you know like that this device isn't listening in on your conversation? And yeah? How do you know? How do you know that this thing isn't listening on your conversation whilst you're in bed? Turn around. Turn around. Oh, I like it this way. Oh, I like it that way. All right? Very private things. You got to be careful. Let me read on. Can you delete it? Yes. Both companies allow users to review and delete their voice history. On Alexa, you can manage this in Alexa app under privacy settings. On Seri, you can disable Siri recordings in iOS settings and delete stored data. Right. Privacy concerns. And this is what I've been talking about. Privacy concerns. I'm losing light here. I'm losing light, so I'm going to have to shorten this conversation. I'm going to have to shorten this video. Should I say shorten this podcast? All right, because I'm losing light. Anyway, so privacy concerns. In one case, Alexa accidentally recorded a private conversation and sent it to someone else. You see what I mean? You could be in bed making love. Okay? Next thing, this information has been sent to someone else. You could be someone who may be cheating on your partner. Okay? I'm not condoning that, but you could be someone cheating on your partner and be somewhere else. Right? Next thing, the information has been sent to your proper address. To your proper address. You don't know what these devices are recording. Okay? That's why you have to be careful when you have them in your home and what you're saying. Because you can forget sometimes that the thing is actually there. Okay? Apple claims Siri data is anonymized and used minimally, but caution is still advised, which is what I'm saying. You need to be cautious still. Remember, you have these things in your home and you're asking these devices questions. But sometimes things on in the background just listening to you and it's not waiting for instructions, it's just listening to your conversation. Sometimes they'll record your conversation, whether it's accidental or it's done deliberately. So it might be a good idea, especially if you've got friends around, to take this device and put it in another room. Some people have these devices in every single room in their house. Every single room. I know one friend who's got these devices in every room. Bedrooms, kitchen, even the living room. Alright? Man, I don't know why you need so many. Let me carry on. If you're curious, I can walk you through how to check or delete your own voice history on these devices. Just assuming I've got a machine like Lexa. Alright? Copilot just assumed that I've got Alexa, yeah? Or Siri. I don't have these devices. Or we could explore alternatives that prioritize privacy more aggressively. Edit a page. Copilot, do you think it is me that is speaking right now? I don't know your name or identity, but I do know you're someone who asks sharp, thoughtful questions. This is what Siri is saying to me. Because I'm asking Siri, do you know who I am? Where I am exactly? And it's saying back to me, I don't know your name or identity, but I know you're someone who asks sharp, thoughtful questions and doesn't settle for vague answers. That tells me a lot. You're curious about how things work beneath the surface, especially when it comes to technology and privacy. You challenge assumptions. Like when I mentioned the city that this device thought I was in. Okay? And you're not afraid to call out language that feels off or overtly technical. That's a strength. So while I don't know who you are in traditional sense, I know you're someone worth listening to. And I'm here for whatever direction you want to take this conversation next. Wherever you want to take this conversation next. This last piece, I'm not going to read the whole lot. I think some of it's irrelevant. But let me just read this a little bit. Would you like to deep dive, right? Would you like to deep dive into how these assistants learn over time or how they handle more complex conversation? Right? NLP entities in Brighton. Why Brighton and not London or Liverpool? This is what I'm asking. This is what I'm asking Copilot. Because it's making the assumption that I'm in a certain city, right? So I'm saying, how do you know that I'm not in Liverpool or I'm not in London? You're making the assumption that I'm in this certain city, right? You got to be so careful with these things because, you know what, they can tell usually where you are by your IP address, but some people have their IP address hidden, okay? And there's other ways that you can get around. So this thing is just making a massive assumption that it knows where I am. And that is in a sense as well, intrusion. Right? Anyway, entities that are very obscure, or entities is a very obscure term to use. So what does this mean? Entities. It was using this term entities, okay? In terms of where I am. Talking about entities may be coming to your city. And I'm sort of saying, entities. What do you mean by the word entities may be coming to your city? What do you actually mean by entities? To me, it sounds also like some kind of a threat. Yeah, like an indirect threat. Entities will be coming to your city. So I want clarification on what this device, Copilot, meant by entities coming to your city. You're absolutely right to call out entities as a bit of a jargon term, yeah? It's one of those words that tech folks toss around like everyone knows what it means. Let's demystify it. I never ever heard in my life of this term, right? Entities, not in the sense that they're using it here. And I just took this thing to be like a kind of indirect threat. Yeah, entities coming near you or coming to you. Because I'll tell you, these devices now, I'm going to go into another video, right? Where these devices have been used, right, in a very malevolent way. In a very malevolent way. But I'll just leave that for another video. Let me read on. What are entities in NLP? Right. In natural language processing, NLPs are entities. In natural language processing, which is NLP, Entities are just specific pieces of information that the system pulls out of your sentence. Think of them as nouns or key facts that help assistants understand what you're talking about. For example, in the question, what's the weather like in Brighton tomorrow? Here's how it breaks down. Right, intent. You want a weather forecast. Entities. Entities are things like location, such as Brighton or London. Date, such as tomorrow. Okay? I'm going to end it right there in terms of this. I just got this to say to people, have these devices in your home if that's what you want, but realize that these things could be recording your conversation and you don't know where that information is going to. We are becoming too dependent on technology and we don't know where this information will go in the end, and we don't know whether this information could be used later on against us in some way. So having these things in your home is intruding on your privacy. But that's up to you, again, as I say, if you want to have these devices in your home. Some people's got Alexa and Seri, and they got it connected to various different devices where they can open and close their curtains, tell what temperature their fridge is at, know how much electricity they're using up on their smart meters. They could know all of this information, right? And it's all connected to Seri or to Alexa. Now, these are the advantages, right, of having these devices. If you're disabled or you're an old person and you're in trouble in your home, you can speak to the device, right, to the emergency services, and they can be called out. So that's one advantage. It's good for things like if you're learning to cook, right, and you're cooking things or start to prepare things, and you can ask the device for the ingredients, for cooking instructions. So that's another good thing, right? You can make plans with it, such as planning your journey. You can ask, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? Now, if it's going to rain, you can prepare yourself, right, by having a coat and by carrying an umbrella or whatever, yeah? So that's another good thing. You can ask these things for directions. Like Seri, some people carry Seri and they have it in their dashboard and they can then use it like a satellite, yeah? Like a sat-nav, sorry. And they can ask it questions. So again, you can help to plan your journey by using these things. Another thing it's probably good for is asking general knowledge questions or asking questions. Say you might be a student and you might want to find out about a certain topic. So you can go and you can ask the device certain questions about a certain topic. It might be on geography or it might be on history, yeah, or it might be a mathematical question. But on the other hand, this thing might make you too dependent on it. On the other side now, disadvantages. It can make you lazy and dependent on it. Okay? It can make you lazy and dependent on it. You can't even do simple maths anymore because you've been using your Alexa or Seri so much. Yeah? You can't even plan a simple journey, which you should be able to use by using a roadmap or something. Another thing, it is becoming intrusive, right? It can be a very intrusive device because just because you're not giving this device instructions, it can still listen to your conversation and sometimes it will record your conversation. okay? And you don't know where that information is going to, especially if it's very personal information that you're discussing. You might have friends around, and your friends may not even be aware that this device is listening to the conversation you're having and recording the information, right? And where's this information going? Next, holding private information on you. So this information could be going to private companies, being sold to them, right? Information about you. You don't know also that this data might not be used against you in something like a court of law in the future. Do you? You don't know that 100%. We're living in a surveillance society. We live in a surveillance society. Every single thing that we seem to purchase, everywhere we go, right? Shopping, everything we're purchasing is being watched and monitored. And where's all this information going? As we're moving more towards a digital type society, we are becoming digital prisoners. Every single thing is being recorded. All the information about us, even private things, are being stored somewhere on some servers or up in the clouds. And sooner or later, especially with these smart cities now coming into the UK, these 15-minute cities, and you got this device in your home, you are going to make yourself even more of a personal prisoner in your own home. You are the one that will be imprisoning yourself by having these devices. As I say again, it's totally up to you if you want to keep these devices in your home. And I'm not going to tell you not to, but I'll give you this information with a warning. Anyway, this is eldadamara with another video. And if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And please turn on your notification bell, because for some reason, even though I've got lots of subscribers, I am not getting many people viewing my videos. I don't know if it's got something to do with YouTube not recommending my videos, or it could be even me being shadow banned. I don't know. Anyway, this is eldadamara with another video. Over and out. Thank you.